Today we're going to talk about creating characters that matter. We're going to talk about creating those high stakes characters. So you probably heard about creating a high stakes plot or a high stakes novel. Well, what is a high stakes character? That's what we're going to talk about today.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author and also here on Fridays to offer you some writing tips. Okay, so today we're going to talk about creating that character that just jumps off the page, that readers love, that they can't put down your book because of the character. So it's not just the plot, but it's just the character. So you've probably heard, and if not, I will link I'll link a video on high stakes plots or creating a high stakes novel. Now, I don't actually know if there's such a thing as a high stakes character or if it's just something that I am just creating myself or inventing myself. But if there isn't, there should be, because what is a high stakes character? Well, let me explain this. First, I want to tell you a story, okay? So years ago, when my daughter started high school, she went into theater and she went into doing the costumes and all that. So not an actor, but doing, the behind the scenes. So pretty much all the work, right, that needs to be done for a play to be created. And so she made various friends. One of the friends that she made also had an older brother, and the older brother ended up being a student of mine at the college, at the community college where I was teaching. So, I got to know both the kids. I got to know the younger daughter through my own daughter, and the younger sister through my daughter, and I got to know the older brother because he was my student. Okay, so I know these two people, right? So, then what happens is their parents own a pawn shop and of course I don't know the parents, I only know the kids. And this pawn shop gets held up, robbed, and the mother is shot. I think it was a couple of times. So we find out about this, and of course we're very worried about the family and about these kids. And my student tells me about this in class, and it's like, oh my God, is your mom going to be okay? And so of course this becomes very, very concerning for us. It doesn't affect us personally, obviously, but it affects people that we know. So of course, we care about it because we care about them. So what does this have to do with our characters? Now, I hear about shootings and really sad things that happen to people all the time, right? You turn on the news and you hear it all the time that, people were killed, people were shot, there was some kind of tragedy. And then kind of on this very surface level, of course we care because we're human. So it's like, oh, this is horrible that this happened to these people, right? But what happens afterwards? You turn off the TV, you go on with your day, and it just becomes this sort of story in the background of things that happened in town, but it's not something that you worry about, sadly, right? It's not something that you even really think about, maybe unless it was something really big and we talk about it with other people at work or something. But most of the time what happens is you hear a lot of stories, a lot of sad, tragic things that happen, and you just really it just goes into the back of your mind and you go on with your day. So I guess my big question is why, right? Why does that happen? Why do I care so much about a shooting that happened in my small town that affected these two young people and their family? And why don't I care about other crime that has happened in, a relatively close community, right? I'm not that far from LA. Well, probably, the answer to that, right, is that I know these people personally, and because I know their story, because I know who they are and I see how it affects them, then I tend to care more than about people that I don't know. It's just kind of human nature that that's the way we are, right? We just care more about something that kind of touches us in some way. So let's go back then to this little story that I just told you, right? The why did I care more about somebody that I knew? Because there is a bond that we create with people that we know. We start to get invested in who they are in their lives and things that affect them. So one of the first things that you want to do with your characters and your reader is create that bond. So how do you create the bond? You create that bond by having this character be this sort of everyday person that your reader can relate to, and also, but by doing that, you're creating this everyday person. What in our mind happens is if something can happen to this person who is just like me, right? So it's this person who is very similar to me, who's just an everyday person, then it can also happen to me. So we kind of, we can relate to the character more because the character is similar. So if the character is going through his everyday life, and all of a sudden somebody comes in with guns and they threaten their life, well, if that happened to that character, if it happened to a real person, it could happen to us as well. It kind of reminds us that we're not, immune to the things that are going on around us. So having something that is relatable, making this character relatable, very similar to the reader, creating that situation where it seems like this person could actually be somebody you know. It could be a friend of yours. That starts to create that bond with the character. The second way to get your reader to care about the characters, so first you've created them, they're just kind of like an average person, everyday person. And the next thing is to make the reader feel like they know that person, right? So again, reason I cared is I knew these people. Right? So how do you make the reader feel like they know an imaginary character? Well, that's how you build character, right? As you're characterizing your character, as you're creating your story, you start to share things about the character. What does the character believe? What does the character value? What, who is this character's, who are the friends, who are the family members? Does this character have children? Do they have parents that they're caring for? Do they have anything that again can help your character and your reader bond? So you're looking for those similarities, you're looking for that everyday stuff, but you're also looking for building this character up into a person that seems real. So once we get to know the character well, we get to know who they are and what they believe in and what they value and what's important to them, then they're going to feel more real. They're going to feel like somebody that we actually know, and we're going to care more about what happens to them. The third thing is to make the dramatic event that happens to the character also relatable. So we can all relate to being robbed. If you haven't had that happen to you, hopefully, we can kind of relate to it. We've seen people that it's happened to, people close to us, maybe, or I think almost everybody has had some situation where something has been stolen, maybe not robbed at gunpoint, but we can imagine that, right? So I had somebody try to steal my purse once when I was walking out of, or actually walking to a toy store, and somebody came towards me and tried to steal my purse. Had a big battle. I actually fought for the purse, which was kind of crazy when, thinking back, I should have just let it go. But, and just kind of your instinct to hold on to something and just to fight for it, I guess just kind of takes over. So anything that is sort of common, something that can happen to you, right? As a reader, you're also going to be able to relate to that dramatic event. So something that is close enough that somebody could say, wow, well, I understand that. Not only do I understand that could happen, but I also understand that this is something that maybe I should fear because it's something that could happen to me. So it is, you feel more of a bond for the person if they're going through a divorce, they're about to lose their kid, something happens, they lose a job, the normal stuff that happens to us. Not that you can't write something that's kind of crazy that doesn't normally happen, but it should be something that reader can relate to. Okay, so with the fourth thing, let's go back to the high stakes issue, right? So if we're writing a high stakes story, what that typically means is that it is larger than life, and there's something important that that's going to happen, that's going to change kind of the course of this character's life. So with the high stakes character, it's the same thing. This thing that happens to them is so important that it could change the whole course of this character's life. So, you know, in real life, it's bad enough just that somebody shoots you, right? So that's scary enough. But in a story, it should be that they have something more to lose. So should they not survive from this gunshot, what is going to happen, let's say, to those children? What's going to happen to this business that they have? How is this going to have a larger effect than just the person that was shot? So again, in real life, that's horrible enough. But in fiction, we're always going for the larger, right? For the more kind of universal, bigger problem. So with this high stakes character, what is it about this character? What is this event that's going to happen? How is this going to be, again, larger than life and really, really, really affect much more than just that event? So it's not like just, okay, I'm just going to recover. So if they recover, maybe, for example, the reason, you know, and we can create a whole story about this pawn shop robbery, but maybe there was something that they were looking for specifically in that pawn shop that was worth a lot more than what this owner thought it was worth, or the pawn shop owner thought it was worth, right? So that not only did they you know, come in there and shoot this person, but if they didn't find what they wanted, is there this fear that they're going to come back? So it creates this high stakes plot. It also creates a high stakes character that now the character has a lot to lose, because they're not, might not just come after her, they might come after her family and her kids and so forth, right? So we have this now bigger problem that we as the author have to work through and weave, and, you know, and creates a much more exciting story, right? So think of this kind of high stakes character as a character who does have a lot to lose. And that it really matters if this person lives or dies. You know, kind of think about, like, you know, the Terminator movies, right? Where this person was just an average girl, right? That ends up being targeted by the Terminators because of who the future son was going to be. She's just an everyday person at the very beginning. We come to care for her and like her and all that because she is just kind of this sweet, wonderful waitress, I think she was, and, you know, going through her normal life. And all of a sudden she's kind of targeted unfairly, it seems like, by this strange machine, or a strange Terminator that's coming to kill her, and we don't really understand why, and we feel for her. And you know, but she's a high stakes character because it matters if she lives or loses. It actually, the whole future of the world matters if this woman lives or dies. That's how much of a high stakes character she is. And your plot is also a high stakes plot because of the same thing, right? It matters what happens here with this Terminator and this woman, because it's not just their life, it's the future of the world that matters. Okay, and these kind of characters I think are great to write, and they're fun, and you know, you see them in these movies and in these books that go on, you know, that last longer than just the season that they're released, right? And why is it? You know, you look at movies like, you know, older movies like Casablanca. Well, why was Humphrey Bogart, I can't remember the character's name, I should remember, Rick's his name. Anyhow, why has this movie, you know, lasted through the years and everything, and why was this character so, you know, well loved? And if you know, read books on plotting and stuff, they're almost always using Casablanca as an example for many reasons, right? For plotting and everything, but also for the character, because he is a character that, again, is an everyday kind of guy, and he gets involved in this, you know, this situation where he has to have a lot to lose, right? So the high stakes character has a lot to lose if he doesn't make it through, you know, make it through the drama. And why? Because, you know, he doesn't have a good choice. He either, you know, he's going to lose basically the love of his life no matter what his choice is, But if he doesn't make the right choice, it's also going to affect, it's going to help the Nazis, and it's going to have a negative effect on the war and all of that, right? There's this important guy, and I've watched this like a few times. It's one of my husband's favorite movies. I don't remember every aspect because I think I've saw it once, maybe, maybe twice, because it's been playing in the background. But anyhow, I know enough to know that he has to make this terrible choice on whether to give up the love of his life in order to save her husband, who she didn't know was alive when she met Humphrey Bogart. And if you haven't watched the movie, I guess you could watch the movie. But it's not an easy choice for him to make. So it should never be an easy choice for the high stakes character. It should also really matter what choices they make. It should also really matter if this character lives or dies or is successful with his goals, right? So again, I think what makes it so impactful is that it doesn't just affect the character, it affects the community, society, the world as a whole. So when you're creating this character, then what you want to do is you want to spend as much time creating this type of character as you do creating the entire story. And in fact, it should matter so much that if you took this particular character out of the story, it really wouldn't be the same story. So it's like you couldn't just replace this character with a different character. This character is so much part of the story that this character really matters. Okay, so who this character is, what the values of this character are, all of that is super, super important. And it makes the story work better because this character is part of it. So you want to spend a lot of time plotting this character, thinking about everything about the character. So, I mean, all our characters matter, right? For us, at least for me, characterization is important. But for this type of story, especially if it's got a lot of drama to it, you want to really spend the time to develop this character and make it this super important person that matters so much that the story is not the same without that character. So I hope this short video just helps you to understand a little bit about the high stakes character and why you want to have them. Again, not all stories need this type of intense character, but some stories do. And if you're writing that type of story, then you really, really do want to focus on this character, and you really want to make sure that you're helping us bond with that character, that you're helping us helping us feel like we know the character, helping us understand what this character's goals are and why they are crucial, why it's really crucial that he or she achieves the goal, and that the drama that they're, the tragedy, whatever it is that they're involved in, is something that, again, the reader can really relate to, because the reader can imagine being in that situation and being in and having it affect them as well. So I hope this helps you a little bit. I will probably make more videos about a high stakes character, because I think it is an important character that we need to spend a lot more time thinking about. But for now, hopefully that helps. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and the share button, and I will see you again next Friday.